There are many ways to ask for the revelation of the gods in ancient Egypt, of which three main ways are mentioned. The first of these ways is the direct way, and that happens when the god talks to himself, embodies in his statue, or his sacred boat, or his sacred animal. This is the oldest and most common way. The second way is to bring the revelation and question it, happened in the form of divine rituals, which usually happened in the favor of a person. The rituals that were attached to the divine revelation were known since the 19th dynasty. For these rituals were answers from the god about a certain request or subject or dilemma introduced to him. The essential difference between that way and the direct revelation is just in its being written and is introduced as being a revelation of God without showing the request of the revelation and waiting for his answer. The priests are the ones responsible for declaring and introducing these rituals to the people for being a divine revelation. The third way happens through dreams, and that's through the meeting of the sleeper with the world of gods in the dreams. Thus the dreams played an important role as means of the connection of the sleeper with the world of gods and expressing what's going in the minds of the gods. By that, dreams became means through which the answer is received. The connection between dreams and revelation has appeared in what's known as the incubation in the temple. The direct divine revelation was the most important way used in revelations. It happened by the meeting of the revelation seeker with a god, directly asking him a question verbally or writing down his deed. The god transfigurated in such sittings, either in his sacred bark, which appeared in the parades of festivals, holding his statue within, or by talking to the statue of the god that's placed in the temple and hearing his answers. It's noticed that the job of the priest Hem, Neter, Wahemu goes back to the beginning of the 18th dynasty, and that's with the beginning of the appearance of the revelation. The king played the role of the medium of the revelation in the important matters that are concerned with the legitimacy of the throne or the important political grand matters. In case of the common status of the simple people, like the workers of Deir el-Madina in Luxor, the one who was appointed with the role of the medium here is a priest of a small job rank. The priest who was responsible for declaring the verdict of the divine revelation played a special part during the revelation procedure, during the parades of the festivals. For he was responsible for the method of telling the reply of the god in the matters of revelation during his parade, and that happened through talking in the place of the god, as if the god is the one who inspired him of that, or through giving certain signals to the priests who carry the boat of the god to make movements according to that signal that carries the reply of the god, either by acceptance or denial. That priest usually stood in the middle position in front of the parade of the god, in a way that gave him a chance to do his role and nod to the priests who carry the boat. The scribe of the divine revelation is the one who is responsible of recording and writing down all what comes of a revelation from the god. Through what's kept in history of examples of the texts of revelation, we notice that there used to be a certain formula that the priest used in questioning the revelation with. The scribe and the witnesses used to sign it. Each single priest was bound to use that form, and the contents varied from one answer seeker to another. In ancient Egypt, revelations played a great role in the social life of the people. The request of the one who asks for the revelation was presented to the god verbally or written in brief or in details, depending on several reasons, at the front of which the time that's permitted for the one who asks for revelation to talk to the god one-on-one. The ancient Egyptian was always certain that the god knows all the details of his complaint, but he never had the chance to tell it. Thus he becomes very assured towards the judgment of the god and his decision in his request. Then he waits to get a reply from the god as an answer to the revelation in the form of a picture or a sound or a signal. The operation of calling the revelation of the god by the king and the high priests has been subjected to a form of the protocol forms and the manners of speech in a way more formal that happened through many steps that are complicated, and through these rituals the god is pulled in and is praised. For the one who asks for the revelation is someone who is close to the god, and the form that precedes asking for the revelation usually has an impact on the decision of the god to be positive. Among the ways of calling the revelation is talking or addressing the god verbally. That requires a physical presence in front of the god. Many words and actions were mentioned that express the presence of the revelation seeker in front of the god to present his problem or complaint. There are words that point to that in general. It's difficult to put an exact translation to some of these words, for we find this text saying, "The great priest of Amun-Ra arrived in front of the great god," or "The priest Amun-Nacht stood in front of the god." Asking for the revelation in ancient Egypt required a direct talk to the god. Among the forms used in that addressing is a form of Mbah, which means in front of or near to. That form is repeated a lot to mean the presence of the high priest in front of the god in particular. That formula is used to confirm the confrontation between the god and the means of the revelation, and so are some verbs like seper and semi and aha. They are verbs that point in their meanings to being present in front of the god. The verb wahm is one of the verbs that are connected with the revelation and holds more than one meaning, for it means the repetition of saying the request to the god, like in the text that says, "Then the great priest of Amun-Ra comes, and the king of gods, Pai Najem, the honest voice, came too, in front of this great god." The second meaning means to talk with respect in front of the god. Thus, it's used in the special cases in which there is a connection between the king and the high priest with the god, in addition to words and actions that were used or proved in one way or another within the text to tell about the revelation condition. The other way to call for the revelation is by writing, and that's when there was an attempt to ask for the revelation in writing, in case there was no way of asking for the revelation verbally. The two ways could be used together, and this happened by putting the two documents in front of the god, for two documents were placed on both sides of the road through which the god passed during the parade, or in front of or behind the god. The operation of making the revelation act happens, in that case, is by the choice between the two documents through a movement that the god makes by means of the priest who carry his sacred bark. Asking for the revelation of gods in ancient Egypt was very common, not only among kings and queens, but also among the common people. The birth chapel in Luxor Temple is an evidence to the need of the approval of the god on the throne of Amunhotep III, who had built Luxor Temple specially to include the birth chapel in it. On the walls of the chapel, we see a marriage scene between the mother of Amunhotep and god Amun himself. In that marriage, Amunhotep was conceived as a child of the god, and thus he was able to rule Egypt being a son of a god, since his mother was not a royal queen. The revelation of Imhotep, the engineer of King Zoser, and Amunhotep bin Habo became specially famous and widespread in the place of their worship and cult all around the country, like in Memphis and Thebes and Deir el-Medina and Habo city and other cities where special chapels and statues were consecrated to them, and offerings and prayers and promises were dedicated to them, especially during the Greek-Roman period. Hundreds of promised pallets and revelation requests were found. They were offered by the visitors to the places of their sanctification to ask for healing and to ask for pregnancies and others. This points to their great role in the popular religions in ancient Egypt. The revelation of Imhotep was requested in asking for healing and magic, and that was achieved through dreams. He carried the title of the healing god. His revelation was given through his priests in the Serapeum of Saqqara and in the temple of Amun-Ra and Ptah in Karnak, and in a special chapel dedicated to him in the temple of Hatshepsut, where his fame became widespread about his ability in curing the diseases. God Amun-Ra comes at the front line of the gods who are connected with the revelation, for the widespread of his revelation on a big scale in and out of the boundaries of Egypt. God Amun has some advantages and characteristics that are connected with the revelation, like Amun-Ra, the lord of the throne of the two lands, Amun-Neb-Nesu Tawi, and Amun-Ra, Amun-Ra-Nesu Neteru. Usually, the revelation of Amun was consulted during the trip of his boat between Karnak and Luxor temples, and in the other festivals and religious celebrations in which the god participated. That happened under the name Amun-Ra, the king of the gods, the great oldest god, older than the beginning of creation. In a lament from the time of King Taharka, we find a confirmation of the connection of that name that's concerned with the revelation of Amun-Ra. For the lament says, "The owner of the revelation, who prophesies the future before it exists, is older than the beginning of creation." The revelation of Amun-Ra in Thebes is connected with the political and official matters more than others. Maybe that is due to the position of Amun-Ra as being a formal god of the country. In spite of that, the common people had resorted to the revelation of Amun-Ra in many cases, especially in the images of the local cult of Amun-Ra in the cities and villages. For the texts point to the existence of many images and figures of the cult of Amun, and in those images, Amun's name came coinciding with the name of the village or the area. Amun has also participated in issuing the decisions of the revelation in Thebes with some other gods and deities, in front of whom are Khonsu and Mut. The revelation of God Thoth left many evidences of its existence in the Ptolemaic period, many of which came on pieces of ostraca from the archive of the one called Hur, the priest of Isis, and the scribe, and the private secretary of the cult of the sacred bird of Thoth in Memphis, that was found in Saqqara. The great goddess Isis, the mother of the god, was connected with the revelation and the prophecy in Kaft and Abydos and Saqqara and Philae Island, and that was based on the position that her cult had in these places. The revelation of god Serapis became so famous during the Ptolemaic period, and his revelation was known in Alexandria by the name Serapium Canub, and also El Arab al-Madfuna in Abydos, and that's usually due to the connection between him and Osiris, and that's when Serapis is considered the image with which the cult of Osiris spread during the Ptolemaic period, and his revelation was required in healing. The revelation was connected with many gods and other deities like Hathor and god Anuris and Inherit, where there was a pointing to his revelation in a papyrus from the Ramesside period, and also with each of god Set, Sobek, and the octonary of El Ashmunin, and the goddess that were pictured in the form of rams, like Khnum and Hur-Sha'ef and Ba-Neb-Jedet and god Bes from the Ptolemaic period. The revelation was also asked from the sacred animal of the god, as being a living incarnation of the image of the god himself. Some of the kings were famous of being connected with the revelation, including Amasis I, Amunhotep I, Ahmose Nefertari, and Ramesses II. Among the non-royal figures are Imhotep, the engineer of King Djeser, and Amunhotep ben Habo, from the time of King Amunhotep III. The revelation of Amun-Ra was not confined to Thebes, but stretched to a number of cities and other areas in addition to Thebes, like Siwa and Nebata, and spread out of the boundaries of Egypt itself. So we find in the text of choosing the Ethiopian king Abilta that he resorted to the revelation of god Amun. Amun-Ra, the lord of the thrones of the two lands, the one who resides above the pure mountain. The revelation of Amun was exceptionally famous in Siwa, and he was known since the 26th dynasty, maybe in accordance with the construction of his temple there. The revelation of Amun has reached a worldwide reputation and famosity even before Alexander the Great entered Egypt, and his visit to the revelation of Amun-Zios there. God Khonsu was known of his revelation in Thebes with Amun-Ra and Mut. His appearance came in the texts of the divine revelation under the name of Khonsu in Thebes, Nefer-Hotep. Goddess Mut was also famous in Thebes as a goddess of revelation with Amun-Ra, and appeared also through the divine rituals from the time of the two dynasties, the 21st and the 22nd. Usually, she issued decisions of revelation that were connected with protection and healing, in addition to her appearance with Amun-Ra in the revelation. God Ptah's revelation was known in Memphis since the New Kingdom era, and continued even during the Greek-Roman period, and for his role as a creator god and his great influence in being a god of a revelation and a prophecy. God Thoth's revelation was known in Memphis and Saqqara and Nubia and the castle of El Aguz or Qasr El Aguz.